the Dharma incomparably profound and infinitely subtle is rarely met even in 100,000 million kalpas. Now we see it, hear it, receive and maintain it. May we completely realize the Tathagata's true meaning. Good morning, or good afternoon, or good evening to everybody. It's good to see you all. It has been quite hot on Sonoma Mountain this week, but last night there was this thundering warring thunder that went through the dark night. And as I got up this morning, it drizzled with the rain. So it was very refreshing. My name is Kashin. I'm a Zazen practitioner. I'm an ordained nun. I practice in Japan for 6 months with Aoyama Roshi, who is highly respected at a temple, training temple that is called Aichi Senmon Nisoto, which is for training of priests for nuns only. And that is in Nagoya. I have been living and practicing at Sonoma Mountain Zen Center, Genjoji, for about 20 years. I live here with my husband, Kashin Kwong, and our son, Ajo, who is 12 years old. I was born in South Korea, and I got adopted to a Danish family, and so I grew up in Denmark. I came to United States, I think it was around 93. I lived back then in New York City. And later on, I came to California year 2000. So though I'm seeing all of you in those little boxed in those little squares on my computer screen, I still have a sense of there's a connection there. And technology is great that we can connect like this. It's a great tool. So it's very useful. But I'm also discovering that technology also has its limitation, that is also is limited. So this that we are connecting, there's something, it's still in our connecting is not the same as in flesh and blood. There is something missing. When we first started, our sasin online. I was very excited, and I was so happy to see all of you in those little squares. And I thought it was wonderful, but I'm not sure that I will be so, uh, that I will feel so connected with all of you if it wasn't because our sasin practice, the way we get together through our sasin practice. So why is that? So if a lonely person got online, or getting online, uh, I'm not sure they necessarily will feel less lonely. There might still be a feeling of absence, a feeling of separation. So there is something missing. Uh, Science says the study, the acceleration of people who feel lonely in this world, that we all have so different social needs according to our temperament. But what is important, they found out what is important from people is the quality of that social interaction. Of course, you don't necessarily only feel lonely when you get online. That lonely feeling can definitely also be felt among a lot of people and in different social gatherings. So what does it mean to not feel this absence but connected? The people who say they're lonely say they're not lonely by choice. Here during this pandemic, the most difficult or challenging feeling for a lot of people is that they feel lonely. This shelter in place, we have no choice. We cannot move. We have to stay put. And I'm not going to talk about all the reasons of loneliness and what to do about it. But each person is different and has various reasons to feel lonely, and it's a very serious condition. But what I would like to investigate is the actuality of that we are not alone. So when one is lonely, there is a separation, and it is the ego, some ways the ego that feels separated and is not recognizing something. And when the ego, when something is based on the ego, and there's that separation, there's also this disconnection. And disconnection meaning that you don't realize the interconnectedness of all things. So when we're disconnected, we also create greed, anger, and ignorance. And all those riots we are seeing these days springs from that. It springs from always looking outside and maybe not realizing that you all can deal with it and you can react with something within yourself, with something that's a lot more close at hand. So so when so when you return to yourself, yeah, nothing is missing. Everything is found within yourself. So I would like to look into what is the difference then between a loneliness and aloneness. And I think it has something to do with intimacy. Is not recognizing again that everything is within yourself. So not knowing is most intimate. So what does that mean? So when you grope for the pillow in the middle of night, the pillow comes to you too. The pillow is reaching you, but nobody's there. There's no thinking, there's no separation of object and subject. It's this not knowing. So intimacy is also or is realization. And I thought that's really interesting because intimacy is realization. So to realize something means that you actually bring or give life to all the things that you meet in your ordinary everyday life. So intimacy is ordinary. Actually, our everyday routines is the practice of intimacy. Are we there? Are we present? And also, it made me think about Roshi talk about something called Menmitsu no Kafu. And it was really difficult for me to understand or grasp what that means. Menmitsu no Kafu. So Menmitsu means to be very careful or very considerate. But what is it that we are being so considerate about? Uh, I think when Kwong Roshi was practicing at Tassajara, there was a great teacher came and I forget his name, but he was expressing exactly that Minmitsu no Kafu. I think he was some kind of he was a big guy and he was very strong and was good at fighting, you know. So if anybody came up and want to fight, and he said, okay, let's fight. So the Benmitsu is that 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 meeting when you meet something uh, right in front of you completely. Um, God, how should I come around it? Yes. So again, you come back to your ordinary everyday life. So getting out of bed is intimacy itself. Is is a realization. You get out of bed, okay, despite your thinking mind, whether you want it or not, whether you're tired, you get out of bed, and that's intimacy itself. You put on your clothes, you put on your socks, that's intimacy of itself. You go down the hallway, you hear the shoveling of your slippers going down the hallway, that's intimacy of itself. You brush your teeth, that's intimacy of itself. So it's a, as you can hear, it's something you do, it's obvious something you do that you are present. But not only present, it's actually have a lot more to do with your toothbrush. It's not about you, it's the toothbrush. In the sense that when you forget this self, then the thing itself, uh, it, it comes to life, meaning that the toothbrush and you is not separate. In a sense that the 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 way you feel the toothbrush, you are there for it, you bring it to life. And because you bring it to life, then of course you are there ready with your open mouth. And and as you and also somewhere in the background you're waking up to that everything is interconnected, that you are of the same substance, right? So you meet each other right there. So that's why the everyday action, the billion, a thousand possibilities throughout an ordinary everyday life, we have a chance to meet yourself from all those objects around you. That's no different from all those activities. That's no different from you. So that's very exciting to discover that. Uh, but it's not one-time shot. Of course, as we know, it's something that we constantly have to practice and constantly remind ourselves, that we constantly forget. We constantly have to remind ourselves and constantly forget. So that's why Zazen is so helpful. And Zazen give us this intimacy, reminding us that intimacy is always there, and it's very close at hand. We do not have to go out there and do big things to have an impact. We do not have to get violent, and it's in the small things that that you can change. You know, change first of all yourself. In my, what does it say? So in the middle of that intimacy, right? Oh yeah, the everyday thing you do is also a ritual in that sense that in the middle of that form of intimacy you are doing, you are in touch with something that's unconceivable, and it's so deep, but also it's incredibly close. And is that feeling of connectedness that we cannot get through, obviously through uh, uh, being online. We have to uh, come back over and over to what is right, at hand. So our homes, as Roshi said, uh, definitely the Zendo is your house, is the Zendo. And that's what the pandemic, the gift the pandemic gives us. Maybe this is enough. I have more notes. you know, I wrote that you have to lose. You have to. We have to give up and be completely defeated and surrender and accept what is right in front of us. Thank you. May the merit of this penetrate into each thing in all places, so that we with all sentient beings together realize the Buddha way. Oh yeah, so I have a little note here, and it's from Kwong Roshi's book, No Beginning, No End. And of course, Roshi talks about intimacy. Actually, in fact, the whole book, everything he teaches is about intimacy. But I can read this. It says, when we are intimate with anything or with everything, we are simultaneously being intimate with ourselves. You are part of the sky, and the sky is part of you. But who is it who sees the sky? If you can see the sky, you must be part sky. Otherwise, you couldn't see it. It's the same when we say form is emptiness, emptiness is form. In Zen, this is one of the ways we express this intimacy. When we allow ourselves to see through the transparency of our conditioned self, then those things that we think are not part of us, like the sky, like the flower on the mountain that blooms completely without anybody seeing it and noticing it. The trees, the leaves may become ourselves. Knowing this makes the difference in how we see and live our very own precious life. Thank you.